In this video, we will be discussing the structure of an atom. What is an atom? What do you all know about atoms? The atom word is from Greek, which means is indivisible. What does indivisible mean? Indivisible means it cannot be further broken down. Everything around us is known as matter. So matter is composed of atoms. Therefore, atoms are the building blocks of everything. Let's move on to the definition of the word atom. So, what an atom means? An atom is the smallest part of an element that takes part in a chemical reaction. So, this is going to be the definition of the word atom. The smallest part of an element that takes part in a chemical reaction. Let's look at the atomic structure. This diagram represents the structure of an atom. So as indicated by the diagram, an atom consists of a central nucleus. And around the nucleus, it is composed of an empty space which is known as orbitals, shells, or as energy levels. So this is known as orbital or as a shell, or you can even call it as an energy level. So an atom consists of two main parts, the central nucleus, and around the nucleus it is composed of orbitals. So now you all must be wondering what are these particles are. This green color and this orange color dots, and what are these tiny yellow colored dots? So if you look into the internal structure of an atom consists of three subatomic particles. So let's look at what are these three different subatomic particles are. Three subatomic particles. So an atom consists of a group of subatomic particles known as protons, which is represented by letter P. And the next set of subatomic particles are known as neutrons, which is represented by letter N. And the last type of subatomic particles are known as electrons, which is represented by letter A. So these are the three different types of subatomic particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons. So keeping all these things on your mind, let's move on to the atomic structure and see where are these three subatomic particles are located. So as indicated by the diagram, you all can see that the nucleus contains two different colored particles. So what does these two different colored particles indicate? So it just gives you a clue that the nucleus is composed of two different types of subatomic particles. So what are these through subatomic particles that the nucleus is composed of? So the nucleus is composed of protons and neutrons. So the remaining subatomic particle, which is known as electrons, will be occupied at the orbital. So now let's look at some of the features of these three different types of subatomic particles. So I will be using a small table, so it would be easy for me to explain. So the first column, I will just fill it out with a subatomic particle. And the next column with their relative charge. And the last column with their relative mass. So the first column, it is easy for y'all to fill it because just now y'all have learned the three different types of subatomic particles. So shall we fill out the first column? So protons, and the next group will be neutrons, and the last group of subatomic particles will be electrons. So what are their relative charges? So protons are a group of subatomic particles with a positive charge. What about neutrons, children? So as the name implies, neutrons are neutral. So therefore, neutrons will not carry a specific charge. So I will just indicate it by using 0. So electrons are a group of subatomic particles with a negative charge. So now let's move back onto the atomic structure. So you all know that the nucleus is composed of protons and neutrons. So protons are a group of subatomic particles with a positive charge. And neutrons are a group of subatomic particles with no charge. They are neutral. So the overall charge of the nucleus becomes positively charged. So this positive charge comes because of the protons that the nucleus contains. So electrons are a group of subatomic particles with a negative charge. So shall I just ask you all a small question? So what happens when two oppositely charged objects are brought closer to each other? Can you all guess what happens? So when two oppositely charged objects are brought closer to each other, there will be an attractive force between these two oppositely charged objects. So keeping this factor on your mind, let's move back onto the atomic structure. So you know that the overall nucleus has a positive charge because of the proton. And this tiny yellow color circle, they carry a negative charge. So they are oppositely charged. So because of these opposite charges, the nucleus will always try to drag the electrons towards itself. So due to this reason, the electrons keep on orbiting around this nucleus. So that is the main reason why the electrons orbit around the nucleus. So let's look at their relative masses. So these three subatomic particles are so tiny that their relative masses are taken with reference to a special unit known as AMU. So what does this AMU mean? It means atomic mass units. So reference to AMU, the mass of a proton is 1. What about the mass of a neutron? It is also 1, similar to the mass of protons. But what about electrons? Electrons, they carry a mass of 1 over 1840. So, I want you all to take your calculators out and type this value. So, what sort of answer you will get? So, it will be a very smaller value with decimal. So, which indicates that the mass of an electron is very negligible compared to the mass of protons and neutrons. So, keeping this, the relative masses on your mind, let's once again look at the structure of an atom. So, you all know that the nucleus is composed of protons and neutrons. And according to this chart, the protons and neutrons carry a specific mass of 1. So, which means that the entire mass of an atom depends on its nucleus, because these tiny electrons that orbit around the nucleus, they carry a very negligible mass, which is 1 over 1840. So, due to this reason, we can simply say the entire mass of an atom depends on its nucleus. So, hope you understood what an atom is. In the next video, let's look at elements. Stay subscribed.